Welcome back to the Rundown, and we're discussing Israel's proposed new law to limit postings on Facebook, which the government sees as a needed step to stop incitement to violence, but which critics say could limit free expression. It's still with us in studio, Yehuda Shaffer, former Deputy State Attorney at Israel's Ministry of Justice. And Yehuda, I just want to raise I think a slightly problematic point. You mentioned, well, a judge will be deciding. But of course, a lot of what we have seen on incitement on Facebook has specifically sometimes attacked the power of the judiciary, have taken aim at judges, and you're saying a judge is going to decide, which raises some issues.
Well, the wording of the suggested bill, it's going to go to Knesset. It will probably be debated. The Likud party is very much against, so there might be some fine-tuning of the language. But the way the language is now, there is criteria. It's not the judge will decide. The judge will decide if there is a criminal offense, and in addition, if there's actual possibility that this will lead to violence. So I cannot see how criticism of the judiciary or criticism of the Ministry of Justice can come under that. And things are under judicial review. We have a very independent judiciary.
Well, if you criticize a specific justice and then you put his address and his hometown in the post, is that an incitement to violence? Maybe just following or an incitement to protest peacefully outside his home.
Well, maybe following your example, maybe if the Supreme Court in Israel does not allow demonstrations in front of homes of judges, then maybe they will take out just the address of the home, but not the actual criticism. So it depends on the circumstances. It's time, place, and manner. The same tests that are applied in the U.S. Jurisprudence. I think there's a long-standing spirit of free speech in this country.
Well, there isn't,
as demonstrated in court decisions. Actually, free speech is not defended in the Constitution, which we don't have. Free speech was created by the courts in Israel.
Right, and then you make a great point.
So we can trust them. I think we can trust them.
Israel does not have a First Amendment. Yes. The courts, the Supreme Court especially,
is the one who created free speech in Israel.
Do you think this law is going to be acceptable to them?
Well,
as it's written now?
As it's written now, I think it will pass because it has enough safeguards in it. But if there's an attempt to limit free speech, the court will strike it off. And the Israeli court has, ever since the beginning, even the first case in the 50s against Ben-Gurion, when Ben-Gurion tried to close down Kol Ha'am, which is a communist newspaper, and the court said, we have no constitution, but still, we're following the clear and present danger precedent of the U.S. And if there's no clear and present danger of actual violence, we're not letting you, Ben-Gurion, close this newspaper. And believe me, in those days, standing up against Ben-Gurion, who was a half god in this country, who created the state and then the founder of the state, that was a big thing, and that was actually the moment when the Supreme Court established the constitutional rights in Israel and free speech in Israel.
One last question. I was the editor of a print newspaper. If you were to say that there were certain letters you couldn't print because they were incitement, that might be seen as censorship of the press.
No, I agree. But what we see is abuse of the social media. Abuse which has led to violence. Right. This is the problem. Many countries, many democracies, as I said before, Australia, Germany, have adopted this model. I think the model that's suggested here is a balanced one. It's going to the Knesset now. It will be debated into first and second and third readings. The way it is now, I think it will pass judicial review. And in any case, on a case-to-case basis, the Supreme Court has always been the safeguarder of freedom of speech in this country, and I do trust that they will continue to be so.
All right, and of course, as I said, this issue will still be it's opposed by the opposition, of course, and it could be that there are some members, especially left-leaning members of the coalition, that are a little uncomfortable with the law. So we don't know even yet if the government's going to be able to pass this. Yehuda Shaffer.
Thank
you for joining us.
See you next year.
See you next year, if not before.